This is Channel 2.
The Business Bunker with Paul Andrews.
Welcome back to the Business Bunker Show here on Channel Radio in association with Biz Radio. You're listening to me, Paul Andrews, and the stonkingly gorgeous Jill Sirkin. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome onto the Business Bunker Show Mr. Cliff Petit.
Cliff, Paul, thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Sorry about the preceding hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. No, I was stepping into an episode of Relate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we normally have a counsellor here to help us with the show.
As I said, I've been helping Grandad and helping Mum do the house up and stuff since I was a kid, and so I decided to set up a little firm called the Happy Handyman, which was just me as a sole trader.
I wish you lived in Whitstable.
And managed to enjoy it. The idea just being to get some joy out of life. And
well, it's better than killing
absolutely.
People, isn't it?
Yeah. Slightly better, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It felt nicer. Yeah. I had a bit of a problem with not charging anybody. That was my problem.
What, you're too nice?
Yeah, it was a bit difficult when poor ladies would ask you to come and fix a kitchen drawer, and it takes you 3.5 minutes. You're like, I can't really charge you anything. So, I was not making very much money very quickly and going downhill quite quickly. And I helped a mate on a kitchen fit, and he was mucking around with these little L brackets at the back of this kitchen cupboard, and I'd carried an idea around in my head for about 20 years at the time. Right. And I said, we're not really still fitting kitchens like this, are we? I assumed one of the bigger companies would just have the idea and they would protect it or put it into the world. He said, yeah, how else are you supposed to do it? And
just like that, he said it, did he?
So I said, yeah, okay. He did, actually. That was Tim, my mate Tim Haynes.
Yeah.
Afternoon, Tim, if you ever hear this. He did, how else are you supposed to do it? And I thought, well, I know. I've carried this idea for a long time. So literally that night, I went and phoned my dad, who was only a window cleaner. We weren't a wealthy family, and raised some money to go and get a patent application for my little idea.
Wow.
Right.
So we borrowed $3,000 from Dad, and then it just started, really. It had started from there. I'd never forget drawing up a space plug. I've still got the document on my computer somewhere. Right. This little space plug that was literally drawn up in Word. I had no design talents and no CAD or anything like that. It was me and a computer trying to make the best impression on a computer screen I could. Right. And I've still got that on my laptop. And
you could turn that into an NFT now or something, can you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who knows?
What's an NFT?
Oh, they're these digital art things that trade for millions of quids.
Okay.
Yeah. Blimey, even I don't know about them.
Yeah.
No, I don't get that. So we managed to, and that's pretty much the only time I've ever spent proper money with Spaceplug. Everything else has just been done on a shoestring and working what we want, but we always knew the legal side of it had to be protected.
So you had this idea which you've been carrying around. Yep. I don't want to get too technical here, but I just want people to understand exactly what it is that you've created here. So the L brackets are like an L-shaped piece of metal that you screw things to in a cupboard.
Absolutely. Yeah. Usually with the kitchen unit, we have something down the back of our kitchen units, particularly in the UK, called a service void. And what we were doing at the time would be using 2 of these little L brackets, one on each ear of this kitchen cabinet, and either screwing over the top of the back of the unit or through the back of the unit one way or another. And it always seemed blatantly obvious to me that all we needed was a little adjustable spacer that would take the lateral pressure in the middle of this kitchen unit, and it just enable you to drill through anywhere in the back of the kitchen unit, line it up with wall studs, move it, have it accessible, and just whack a screw through. It's ever so easy. It's a simple 3-step process. Right. And with a kitchen unit, you're kind of going down from 10 bits of kit to 2.
Right. Okay.
It's just faster, easier, more professional looking. It's a nicer way of doing the job, and gradually people have come on board with the idea. So
you carried this design idea with you ever since seeing people do this with a kitchen and going, you don't want to do it like that, you want to do it like this.
Exactly. That's what it became. What it became. So we put the patent application in. The funny story was that, but literally when you're an inventor, it's almost like the business idea of being the handyman. You become the jack of all trades and the master of none, because you're going to take this thing from an idea through to selling in shops, Screwfix and Amazon. Yeah. So driving we had the patent idea, so now it's about, can we actually make it into a reality? Had tried a few plastics development, and I'm driving around the country meeting injection moulders and people like that, and got lost in my hometown at the time was Winchester.
Right.
I'm actually from Bromley, but at the time it was Winchester. And in my rear view mirror, as I was doing my 3-point turn to go, I'm lost here, saw PDC, and it was the Plastics Development Company. It was literally right on my doorstep, and created a relationship with those guys who I don't think are around anymore. But they were a marvellous help to me and got the thing off the ground, and helped get me in touch with a manufacturer who was an amazing help as well, PM UK, and I think Roy and Gary, I think, have sold up and moved on their businesses as well.
So when was this? When was this happening, Cliff?
So this was probably about 2010, about 2012, sort of 10 to 12 years ago. The patent had moved forward, and the patent got to grant, and we'd had an idea of what it was we wanted to make. Between a few connections and just keeping hard at it, eventually we got some prototypes. And I started getting on the phone. Who might want to buy this thing? Who might want to buy this thing?
So did you go to big companies like Howden's or that, or did you start small?
We did. I knocked up a little prototype from some what we call DPM, damp-proof membrane, and a couple of poker chips. And because it was even before 3D prototyping for my budget,
Right.
you know, it was around obviously, but not for me.
Yeah.
And had a couple of meetings with a bit of rolled up plastic and a couple of poker chips, and I've still got that rolled up bit of plastic and a couple of poker chips. And we went with a couple of big companies. And for me, the big thing was I was very lucky to walk into Wren Kitchens. And Wren actually at the time was run by a man called Armando Sanchez. And even though they were a big corporate company, Armando put his photograph and his personal mobile telephone number up in the Wren showrooms at the time.
Right.
Wow.
So you could literally just phone the MD.
He was so
And
hands-on.
obviously there was a lot of protection for most MDs in that situation. So he was the first that I was straight on the phone to.
Right.
So perhaps that's a lesson to MDs. Make yourself more accessible, and perhaps you'll be first to the good ideas. So Armando met me, and I remember doing the usual thing, preparing this great PowerPoint presentation and slides and all the rest of it. And he said, no, none of that stuff, Cliff. I just want to see if it works. And
Wow, what
so
a
I
man.
went running up the road to Screwfix and had to buy a drill and buy some screws and all the rest of it. And we screwed a couple of units to the wall in the back office of the branch in Southampton.
Right.
And I got him to do it. I said, well, there's no point in me doing it. I know how to do this. You know, these L brackets are a nightmare. I said, do that screw up. And he automatically walked around the unit. I said, no, you're not allowed to stand there. The units are there, you know, so you have to do it from there. And he said, well, you can't do it. I said, I know, exactly. That's why we just want to put one screw in from the front. He said, I like it, we're having it. And a few months later went
I
up
love
to...
this story.
Yeah.
I love this.
Well, we had a meeting with Malcolm Healy, who was the actual owner of Wren Kitchens, and we went up to see him at the Nest in Barton Humber. And
What's the Nest?
the Nest is the kind of, hence Wren Kitchens.
Oh, okay.
Is their headquarters.
Oh, I see.
Which they're fantastically built right on the edge of the Humber, so they can literally take all the stuff in from all their board that ships in on big carrier ships, can go
Wow.
straight into the factory.
This
There's
sounds
no transportation.
so
It's been very
innovative.
clever the way he set it up. He's a
Yeah.
very clever man.
Where's he from originally with his name?
Malcolm Healy was the original man to set up MFI.
Oh, okay.
And he'd built MFI, which he'd sold in 1988 at an absolute peak time, and then got involved in eBuyer and stuff in America. And so he'd come back and with his eBuyer success and some various other things. And after the sad decline of MFI, after he'd left, I think he was determined to build something new and better even than MFI, and that's how he came around with his Wren Kitchens, and they're doing incredibly well at the moment. They really are. I know from my sales to them, they're definitely growing and growing fast. So,
Well, kitchens
so
is
that's
probably
good.
one of the main expenses of a house, apart from sort of roofs and things, but interiors.
He noticed exactly that at that time there was a big gap in the market. Nobody had filled the whole of MFI with having showrooms locally. So he'd really worked out that if we put out some big showrooms again, we should be able to do big volumes, and that's how it worked for Malcolm, and he's done incredibly well with it, and now there's huge numbers just growing and growing at the moment.
Cool. So here you are on the Humber with your little plastic thing.
Well, I wasn't. That was the trouble, Paul. I was down by this time. I was now living in Eastbourne.
Right.
A nice lady I was dating, sadly, had just lost her dad.
Right.
The night before, I was supposed to be in North Yorkshire.
Right.
And so I'd obviously not wanted to leave her that night, and decided I was going to set off in the morning for a meeting. I think it was due at about 11 o'clock or something.
Right.
So I sort of left about 5 o'clock in the morning. It was pouring with rain, and the sat-nav decided to go quirky and stuck me on B roads between Eastbourne and North Yorkshire, and I kept fighting it, trying to get back to the main roads. The stress and the phone calls to up there, you're going to meet a billionaire,
Right.
And you're having to drive on the morning, which obviously I would have got a hotel the night before. Had personal circumstances been any different at all? And so, yeah, it took me about 7 hours, 8 hours, I think, maybe more. I just remember knowing I was 4 hours late by the time I got there for my first ever big meeting.
And did they wait for you, or
billionaire.
what happened?
He was very good. I think he just did it pure business like. He's a very straightforward man, Mr. Healy, and it was... Even though I was very late, we communicated, and so I was wheeled in and had the idea and my setup dissected, and he was a bit sort of miffed by how expensive it might have to be, because it's a very small thing, but used to being produced in their millions. But of course, I'm not producing in my millions yet.
Sure.
He's my first customer, so the prices aren't quite what Mr. Healy would be used to. So he seemed quite put out and perturbed by the end of it, and I can remember left the nest and drove up the road to the local co-op and bought a packet of fags and bought a Diet Coke, stood in their car park and lit a fag and kicked the wall and really broke my big toe, going, how could you be 5 hours late for the meeting of your life? And somehow I got a purchase order 3 weeks later.
Wow.
And, at the time, I was actually on Universal Credit, and without that first big order, it might never have happened. So I owe Mr. Healy a lot. And,
It's so
it's been a good
uplifting,
journey.
this whole story. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Bless you, thank you.
Yeah.
Julia.
Isn't that amazing?
It's been a good trip. It's been
Yeah.
a good trip. That's
So,
above all everything. It's
so I
just a
want to
trip.
explore. You got this order. How did you fulfil that order?
Well, we had some tooling on order. That's the only time we've gone outside of the country. Was actually the tooling itself was made in China, and then shipped back to the UK.
Right.
So Malcolm's given us our order. We know we can invest now. This stuff is on its way. We get the tooling back from China. We've made some production in China just to check everything works, and then brought it back to our firm in Tunbridge Wells, and it didn't work.
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
What happened? It fell off the wall, or
We had about 6 weeks of the nice China company. We're going to fly engineers over from China, and then we were going to put the tooling actually onto a plane. I mean, these things are about 2 tons of stuff. Right. It's not very big, but it's solid steel, so it does weigh a lot. And we were going to put it back on a plane to China at one point, and eventually, which is why I always owed to Gary and Roy at PM UK, they managed to get it all working, and we got some production, and it all started rocking and rolling. So, and from there we never really looked back. We've just gradually spread the idea and spread the word, and I think what they call gaining critical mass is how they describe it, isn't it?
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
just.
Yeah.
and all your kitchen fitters need to know about it. And
Well,
how do you
exactly.
contact all of those?
Well, it's pretty impossible. It's rather a niche market to
yeah,
attack.
I've got a lovely kitchen fitter called Doug, and I will put you in touch with him.
Make
He's
sure
lovely.
Doug looks us up. We
I will.
get good 5-star reviews wherever we sell, whether it's Amazon or Screwfix and a number of other places. They're all listed on our website.
Right, you know what I'm going to ask now, Cliff?
Go on.
Is there any other way that you can get it made not in China?
No, it's not made in China. No, it's
Okay.
made in the UK.
So what
no,
was
the
the China
tooling was
bit?
flown back from China.
The
So
tooling.
It's the tooling. So now it's actually made in Sussex. And
I love that.
It was
Now
Tunbridge
I'm
Wells.
happier.
It's been to Tunbridge Wells until Roy and Gary gave up their firm and sold their firm. And it was then with a company in Maidstone, ICM. That became difficult because they were so far away from me, where I was now living in Eastbourne.
Yeah.
And we've just found a lovely producer called Masona Plastics, who are on the Whitesmith Industrial Estate. It's a lovely one of these forest places,
Yep.
you know, where they're literally trying to blend into the rural community.
lovely.
Right.
So
Where
although
is
it's all
that?
in woodland, they do make a bit of plastic. I'm sorry, but we are working on that
Oh,
as
we
well.
have to sometime. But where is that? The woodland
And
place?
that's now in Whitesmith, Uckfield.
Oh, Uckfield.
So
Okay.
yeah, just
Wow.
up the road from Eastbourne. So yeah,
Excellent.
it literally is a Sussex project, really, to be honest. Now,
That's amazing.
And can I just ask, because I'm just fascinated by this.
go on.
So you've used lots of different production companies to make it.
Yeah.
What happened to the original tooling? Do you move that around?
That
or-
comes with you.
Oh,
Yeah,
does it? Yeah,
If,
yeah.
So a bit of advice for everybody. Yeah, if you might well get the opportunity if you're doing something similar for the moulder to pay for it. And then you obviously get the benefit of never paying him back. But it's quite common, hopefully, if an injection moulder thinks you've got a decent idea, is to invest. And what we did was amortise that investment. And so, as we ordered from them, he got his investment back on the tooling.
Right.
But what that meant was the tooling was always mine.
Right.
And so as the companies have had to change over the years, it's always remained mine. So,
Right.
yeah, we are due some more new soon. So there's lots of new products on the drawing board, and we need some tooling soon, I think, for the existing stuff. And there's some new products coming. So,
Wow.
yeah,
We're going to talk about that in a minute, or not talk about that in a minute.
investment. Paul. Talk about investment.
We'll talk about some investment in a minute. I just want to kind of wrap up on the first part of this journey with Space Plug, which you're now producing, and you've made reference a couple of times to the fact that you sell through Screwfix and Amazon and places like that. Any idea how much you're shipping at the moment? How many plugs you sell a year?
We do. They're adjustable spacer fixings.
Of course they are.
now.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
made by Space Plug. This is the whole Hoover and vacuum cleaner thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're out now under slap wrists if we keep calling them Space Plugs. They are Space Plug adjustable spacer fixings,
Right.
and we've just hit 7 million of them. now.
Wow. Okay.
7 million in the world. We'll turn over about £400,000 this year, all from 2 flats in Eastbourne.
Wow.
There's only me and my brother in the business.
Right.
He does all the packing and all the hard work and all of that stuff, and I sit on the laptop and try and sell them and try and expand the market and
Right.
come up with some more ideas.
Right.
And so yeah, we have no premises, no factory. Ken works with us really brilliantly from Masona, so he will produce them himself, bless him,
Right.
and he'll put them on his own shelves.
Right.
And we only pay for them when we buy them from him.
Wow. Okay.
So between having no premises and no storage and no offices, it means that we just about tick over and leave something for expansion. So yeah, we're doing okay. It's a lean business model, but we could do with selling a few million more. That's for sure.
Okay, but you know, we had a quick discussion about this before we went on air. Even with a product like this, which is so obvious once you show
Yeah.
it to someone, it's still not easy to get people to buy into it, is it?
That's my biggest shock.
Yeah.
My biggest shock was I always knew it was going to be difficult to get through the door with people. You know, talking to Howdens, talking to Symphony, or talking to Moores, and you're kind of like, but once you get through the door, when you've got all these 5-star reviews all over Amazon, you've got these 5-star reviews all over Screwfix, and people just keep telling you it's a no-brainer, it's a no-brainer, it's brilliant. Why would you do it anywhere else? And you kind of think, well, why aren't they all buying them then?
Yeah.
You know, and if somebody can answer that still, I guess a few pence on top, even per cabinet, is just a couple of pence, is enough to put them off rather than do it in a nicer way. But we think we've got that beat.
Okay.
We think we've got that problem beat now, and there's a new product coming January the 10th, which is going to save the manufacturers some money.
Right.
Hopefully they'll pay some of that to us for some new products, and yeah, everyone will be a winner now. So
Okay.
we think we finally got the last piece of the jigsaw, and that's coming out January the 10th.
Okay, now I know you can't tell us much about it
No,
because
I'm not.
it's all
It's
big
secrecy.
secret squirrel. But you have got a product. I've seen it. I've seen the concept of it, and Cliff is absolutely right. It's going to save people some money. It's going to make things a lot easier. But from my point of view, as a business person myself, I have great empathy with you. Even with good products like yours and obvious products like yours, people are reluctant to change.
Yeah,
And that is the biggest hurdle to overcome. You know, I've had people stood in front of me going, I love your idea. I'm not going to buy it because that's not how we do it. No, but of course it's not how you do it because it hasn't happened before.
It is the ultimate dichotomy of the human condition, isn't it?
It is,
We hate change, and yet we sort of hate the idea that we're stuck in habit.
Yeah, exactly.
And that we want something new.
Yeah.
So
I love
condition
that.
just does this whole circle all the time.
Yeah.
I love that. That's new. Oh, but I don't want to change. And so it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I'm a bit like that with technology, with
me
phones and
and-
stuff.
me as
You know,
well, yeah.
I go, my phone's really old now and I need a new one, but I really don't want to buy a new one because I know what a faff it's going to be.
Just when they update it.
Yeah, it's going to be a
It's
faff
hellish.
transferring all my stuff to the new phone, even though my old phone doesn't work properly anymore. And we just are very reluctant to change, aren't we?
Definitely. Once you know your way around, it's terrible. But I guess that's us being non-millennials, I think.
Yeah, probably.
The people that taking the updates on their phones every couple of days and then slipping straight into the new systems are a bit more open to it than us.
Yeah, you need a 6-year-old, don't you, to do it for
exactly.
you? Yeah. Cliff, I love your story. It's been a fantastic story, and I'm full of admiration for what you've achieved.
Bless you, sir.
From idea through to delivery has been a journey. It's been an interesting journey.
It's not over yet, Paul.
And it's not over yet. It's about to kick into its next phase.
Absolutely.
So you just made a reference there very quickly to investment. Are you looking to...
Well, there's kind of two things that I'd really want to get across today. One is that if you're anything to do with the kitchen industry, whether you're a fitter, whether you're a designer, whether you're a manufacturer, whether you're a seller, it would be really good if you could look at the new product. And the new product comes out January the 10th. And all you've got to do that is go over to spaceplug.com/countdown. And we've got a list of people there that are going to get the brand new brochure, the new videos that will, and T-shirts and stuff. There's even some physical with it. But if you're at all involved in the kitchen industry, you want to get your name down on that list. That would be very useful.
Right.
And as I say, the second thing really is to put it out there. We're a growing company. We've got places to go. We've still got some new products on the drawing board. And if you're interested in investing with us, come along and have a word because, it looks like we're going places and there's things happening. And I don't want to do it on my own for much longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. So if you've got a bit of spare cash hanging around and you'd like to invest in something that's going to really hit the market, then do that. Just give us a shout for the website again, Cliff.
So it's www.space-plug.com. And you can have a look around the existing product there. And if you add the /countdown, you'll see there's a little form to register yourself for some stuff coming out on January the 10th.
We'll look forward to that. We're going to look forward with bated breath to the unveiling on January the 10th.
Jules is signing up now.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Absolutely. Cliff Petit, Space Plug, thank you so much for that. A brilliant story.
You're very welcome.
It's
Thank you.
uplifting. I feel happy having heard that.
Yeah.
What tune did I get, by the way?
You
Well,
don't
I only do it for the first guest because
But when you come on next time, make sure you get
you can
on
be first. You can be first, and I'll give you a tune
Make
then.
Penny go second next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.